So, a few days back, somebody sent me a question about hate. What is hate? Why are we affected by it? And is love the panacea for hate? So I wrote her back a response and actually posted it on Facebook. And it was pretty surprising, good, but surprising response from people. And I think the thing that was most interesting, at least for me, was that even after hearing so much and practicing this form of meditation, the reality is that the path to actual enlightenment or self-realization is actually a gradual path. And because it is a gradual path, and because of the nature of material conditioning, then it's kind of, we talk about certain spiritual principles and people go, yeah, okay, I agree with that, or I really like it. But the question is, how do you come to the point where you're not just attempting to apply it, you're actually living in this truth? And talking about this particular subject, I think for a lot of people sort of brought that to the forefront. So in speaking about this and speaking about hate, you'll discover in our little conversation that we're going to have that I'm going to present something that's going to be, for a lot of people, a little bit challenging and kind of really different than what we are used to and what we have assumed. So the Sanskrit word for hate is dvesha. Dvesha actually, it not only means hate, it means quite strongly to dislike something, to feel a repugnance, or to have enmity for someone. All of this falls within this category. So let's just look at the foundation of things. Material conditioning, which is what we all suffer from, means that I erroneously have adopted the idea that this body that I am wearing and my mind are me, or part of me. And from the spiritual perspective, that is absolutely not true. There is no truth in that whatsoever. The body is something that you temporarily inhabit. The mind is part of the subtle material covering of the eternal spiritual being within. But it is a material covering, and something we also must come to grips with. But when we accept the idea of the body as being the self, and the mind as being the self or part of the self, then we are confronted with the reality that my mind and my body is just producing infinite varieties and numbers of desires. And I say that these are my desires, when in reality, the desires of the body or mind have nothing to do with the eternal spiritual being residing within the body. the underpinnings, the very foundation of material life or material conditioning is that I see myself as the central enjoying agent. I see myself as the center of everything. I see this world, other people, facilities, all kinds of things, relationships. I see them in relation to me. The material condition is a condition of being utterly self-centered. Doesn't mean you're bad or evil, but nonetheless, completely self-centered. So the way in which this material condition plays out is that then we seek to find fulfillment and happiness through trying to satisfy the different desires that arise from my body and mind. And of course, we've spoken about this a lot, the reality being that it doesn't matter how much stimulation, how many pleasurable experiences you give your body or mind, it does not touch you in the very core of your being. You don't become happy. You can be stimulating the senses like crazy and be completely miserable, even suicidal. So this is, of course, proof. But because of my being completely self-focused to a large degree, even if I'm nice, and even if I'm nice to others, even if I'm a pleasant person, I'm still self-focused. And my tendency is then to see the world and to see different experiences and to see others in relation to whether they do or whether they can provide me with happiness. And if I perceive that someone or something can provide me with happiness, or my idea that it can provide me with happiness, then my tendency is to say, wow, I really like that. And if I think it can provide me with a lot of happiness, then I will say, oh, I love that. The opposite is also true. If I perceive that someone or something is not only not going to provide me happiness, but maybe it make me unhappy, then I dislike them or I dislike that. And if the amount of unhappiness that they can bring to me is great, it can get to the extreme where I say, I hate them. So my attraction or my repulsion is going to be all based upon my mental ideas of whether someone or something can provide me with happiness or not, or remove that idea of happiness. So this plays out in so many different ways. This idea of attraction or repulsion, it can be very mild, it can be moderate, or it can be very intense or very extreme. This is all possible. I'm going to read a little verse here from the Bhagavad Gita. And it states, O scion of Bharata, all living entities are born into delusion. And of course, that delusion primarily is the idea that the body is me, that I am a male, or I am a female, or I am of this nationality, all just based on my particular body. All living entities are born into delusion and are bewildered by the dualities that arise from desire and hate. So this is kind of like, okay, in the Vedic system, there is this concept of what's called agama. Agama means authority, spiritual authority. And it may be in the form of a self-realized spiritual teacher. It may be in some of these texts that have been coming down, these teachings, for thousands of years. But the idea is this, that if I accept that there is spiritual authority, then their opinion I must hold to be of more significance than what's going on in my own mind. So here it states that living beings are born into delusion and bewildered by the dualities arising from desire and hate. So first thing I'm going to state here is love is not the opposite of hate. It's not the opposite of hate. Love, as people describe it in this world, is actually the other side of the same coin. And both of these things, desire and hate, blind me to spiritual truth. I'll just tell you this, and then we'll get into it in a little bit of detail. What people in this world call love is almost always self-centered. It's about me and what I'm getting out of it. If the other person is pleasing me, then I'm quite happy to try and please them also. But when that person stops pleasing me, my so-called love can now quickly and easily turn into hate. There was an old Shirley Bassey song that's been redone by Celine Dion and some new rapper or hip-hop guy. In this song, there was one refrain that they kept repeating, I love you, hate you, love you, hate you, love you, hate you. And that's kind of like, does that not sound like most relationships or not? They start off with this intensity. Everybody, gets into a relationship or gets married with the view that we're going to live happily ever after. And because you are thrilling me and I'm so happy to be here, I love you. But as soon as you start grating on my nerves, as soon as you start expressing desires that I don't want to go along with, and this is mutual, it's never just one way, then I begin to dislike you. But then there are hot moments of sex and passion, and so now I love you. And then we get into an argument and a fight. Now I really hate you. And then, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said that. Yeah, I really love you. I'm so sorry. Yeah, we're loving each other again. Now I hate you again. And it's just this constant, right? Up and down. And that is because there is no difference between the so-called love that's been expressed here and hate. This love, so-called, is not actually love. Love is a wonderful and actually a spiritual condition. The opposite to love in the Vedas is kama, which means lust. Lust doesn't mean just a sexual expression, although sex often it's the epitome of this self-centeredness. Because people are they really get into what they are getting out of things. I mean, you've got this phenomena now of how do I say this politely? Sex toys and now robots. And it's like, don't you realize that for you to get involved with and to have a sexual engagement with a machine and think that that is normal and healthy? No. You've got mental problems. You suffer from loneliness. You suffer from an inability to actually relate. I mean, what happens in that kind of a situation? It is pure objectification, where you look at someone as if it is a male or a female, when it's really just a robot, and you look at how I can use that to bring a pleasurable experience to my body and mind. That is pure objectification. And it's so utterly destructive in the same way that pornography is. And that it really teaches you to objectify other living beings, where you don't see them for the wonderful spiritual being that they are. You are only relating on the level of the body and the ability of that body to provide me with some stimulation in my mind or in my senses, my body. And so this is now, a gross depiction of what people often refer to as love, which is actually more often than not self-focused. It's about what I'm getting out of it. I don't mean that in a nasty way. But if we're really practical and we really look at that, we'll see that that is actually the case in the situation. And so, hate is always going to exist if there is going to be this idea of love. The idea, whether it's mutual fulfillment or me alone being fulfilled or experiencing some happiness, as long as it is self-centered, then I am going to end up fluctuating between desire for that which I perceive or think will make me happy, and then when that is no longer making me happy, I see it as repulsing me, and I increasingly have bad feelings and want to be away from that and come to actually feel really, yuck. I hate that person. This is a practical reality. Both of these conditions, the desire and the so-called love, self-centered love, and the opposite, the hate, are both part of the same material condition, where it's really all about me. As a person grows in spiritual understanding and experience, then they learn to put all of these mental kind of ideas and all the stuff that I'm cooking up in my mind all the time, I learn to push it off to the side and become focused on what is actually far more important or significant. I begin to experience the awakening of spiritual love, which is a condition of increasing selflessness. It's not about what I can get out of it. I actually feel compassion and affection for not just selected individual beings, but for all living beings, because they are all my brothers and sisters. They are glorious and eternal spiritual beings having a really bad material experience. I mean, like a really bad material experience. So we see in the Vedas, wonderful verses that describe this path to spiritual enlightenment. So I'll read another one. It says, there are principles to regulate attachment and aversion pertaining to the senses and their objects. One should not come under the control of such attachment and aversion, because they are stumbling blocks on the path of self-realization. So when we live in this world of attraction, just based on self-centeredness and the desire to fulfill the urges and desires of my body and mind, then I will automatically feel, on one hand, attraction for those or the situations where I think I can be fulfilled, and on the other side, those that's kind of like, yuck, don't want any of that. But these are mental concoctions. And when we live in this world, when that's what's driving us, then we are devoid of actual spiritual vision, and we will be tied to this roller coaster of happiness and distress, not being able to become free from this, not being able to find that place that we truly seek and desire. Real spiritual love is such that once it is experienced, a person can easily and naturally even love their enemy. Actually love. Feel actual love. Tenderness, care, compassion. And seek the actual interest of even one that I may have previously considered, or they may consider themselves to be my enemy. There's a wonderful verse in the Bhagavad Gita. You know, there's this constant messaging that we need to learn to become equipoised, where we are on a steady plane, no matter what is happening to us, that which is considered auspicious or good, or that which is considered inauspicious or maybe even bad. In all these conditions, there is an evenness of mind, a steadiness within the heart. A person is considered still further advanced when he regards the honest well-wishers, the affectionate benefactors, the neutral, the mediators, the envious, the friends and the enemies, the pious and the sinners, when one considers them all with an equal mind. So this is the aspiration of one who seeks spiritual enlightenment, to come to this position where not only am I not disturbed by these things, doesn't mean that they don't happen. There may be all kinds of experiences I have, but I'm not disturbed by it, that it's not controlling my life. It's not determining my decisions and how I am going to live. Okay? So the two opposites are desire and hate. And the two other opposites are love and lust. Lust is selfish and self-centered. Love is always selfless, and it's actually a spiritual experience. It's a spiritual condition. Anybody have any question? Thank you very much. So we'll sing the mantra Om Hari Om.